Welcome to Open Minds. I'm Christopher Balgren. Piers Morgan. You gotta love Piers Morgan sometimes. He's very good at over sensationalizing things and pitting people against each other and fanning the flames of the biggest topics. And when it comes to trans issues and trans rights, I think there's this misconception by not only Piers but others that biology therefore dictates so many other aspects of your life. And I think that is the crux of an issue I'd love to explore. So here's a clip. I'm going to share it with you. And
Tommy, look, I don't see why, if it's limitless, I can't just say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian, because that is where limitless self-identity takes us. It means that male rapists can say they're women and get into female prisons. It means I can say I'm a two-spirit penguin or a black lesbian, and why can't I? Because that is where it takes you.
I think so. I think with Piers, the idea of limitless gender expression is a big issue, and it's a big issue for all of us. It's hard for us to wrap our minds around someone not fully fitting in the gender expression of male or female. And so I wanted to share with you just some ideas and thoughts that can further along this understanding. So let me begin by saying I think we are moving pretty fast in understanding gender expression. So no, let me rephrase that. I think we're actually moving fast in accepting gender expression and making that a normative, a normal social behavior in society. Everything from pronouns in the workplace to understanding different genders and addressing people based on their gender identity, being scared of saying he, she. It's moving too quickly for society to keep up. And that's what's leading to a lot of resistance. We're skipping over that very important piece of understanding and building understanding. And I'd like to kind of explore that today with this. Now, I wanted to begin by saying if you're born a man or born a woman, there are societal expectations on the basis of you being a biological man or a biological woman. So it wasn't that long ago that if you were born a biological man and you were homosexual, you were ridiculed, not accepted, not part of society. You know, you were in some cases physically attacked. There are still parts of the world where that's the case, and homosexuality is a criminal offense in parts of the world to this day, right now, despite the fact that you are born a biological man. And it's only in recent times where we started accepting people of different sexual identities and not caring too much about that. So, for example, I'm not that old. I'm in my 30s. I remember in high school in the early 2000s, there was a person in our student body who was openly homosexual. I went to a Catholic high school, and this person wanted to bring their partner to prom. And our principal sent out a communication saying this person's not allowed to bring their partner to prom because homosexuality is not viewed favorably by the Catholic Church, and cited things from the Catholic Church as a result of that. Now, most people kind of accepted that because at the time it wasn't as openly accepted. And that's within my lifetime. I remember that very vividly. So we do know that not all biological men are heterosexual. We know that, right? It's not, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I can imagine that because it's still not fully accepted in many parts of the United States, parts of Canada, parts of all of our communities, those numbers may be underrepresented. There may be more men who are homosexual that we just don't know about. So I read this really interesting book. It's called A Billion Wicked Thoughts, and it's about these engineers who analyzed people's sexual preferences when it comes to pornography online. And some of the interesting findings were, you know, gay porn was really downloaded a lot. Lesbian porn was downloaded a lot, and this goes somehow against the idea that a heterosexual man would be turned on by homosexual porn. right? Like a heterosexual man should be only turned on by heterosexual porn. Maybe that's just an assumption, but our biology dictates acceptable social and cultural behavior. And that's, I think, where we all are struggling, understanding trans rights and how that happens. So that's one book. Definitely, if you can, read A Billion Wicked Thoughts, because it synthesizes um, that despite our biology, our sexual preferences may not necessarily be linked to our biology, right? So, biology and gender expression and social and cultural expressions and are very different in many cases. The other book I'm reading is called The Moral Animal: Why We Are the Way We Are, The New Science of Evolutionary Psychology by Robert Wright. It's a great book. I'm not that far into it yet, so I'll probably have more to say. But what it's opening up to me is understanding that human nature is very complex and our behavior is also very complex. And it doesn't fit into the boxes of biology, right? So when, that debate that's happening right now about what is a man, what is a woman? Yeah, biologically, you are a man, biologically, you are a woman. But that doesn't necessarily dictate your social or cultural normative, quote unquote, behaviors. And this is where I think the debate gets thwarted. I think people like Piers and others tend to believe that gender expression should be aligned with your biology. It shouldn't be limitless. It shouldn't be tied to whatever you're feeling in that moment. But human nature and human behavior is much more complicated. I think also with peers, it's easy to latch onto the extremes, right? So someone who's a man now identifies as a woman, enters a female washroom and sexually assaults other women. I think everyone would agree that's abhorrent and that person should be sent to jail. But it misses that really important piece of of understanding that human nature isn't as black and white as we might think. That a biological man may not identify as the gender expression for men. And because it has not been socially acceptable for so long, now as an adult, that person may start wanting to either transition physically or start dressing as a female because now it's more socially acceptable. And right? So, how do we navigate that? I think we have to deeply understand human nature and that not everyone is going to identify their gender expression with their biology. So, one of the early things, instead of just going down the path of understanding all these different gender types, which I think is why people are getting so upset, is because we've moved from not understanding, um, or we've moved from fully accepting the LGBTQ community to now understanding that gender is fluid and it's this whole spectrum. Like, I think we're missing that key piece that biology and gender expression are different. And I feel like we really need to zero in and focus on that. That to me is that linkage, that bond that helps us understand gender expression. And it will help us in our schools, it'll help us work with others when it comes to understanding that not everyone identifies as male or female in their gender expression. But because we've missed that step, we're now in this point where we're trying to assume everyone understands that gender expression is fluid. And that's not the case. So, this is my push for, and again, aligning with my theory that this should be the space on the internet where we discuss these things and try to build that understanding. I really think schools and public institutions and others should not move toward this idea of everyone accepting gender fluidity at first. I think instead, the precursor to that is understanding that human biology and gender expression can be very different. Can be, right? We just don't know how prevalent it is because we maybe haven't done as many randomized controlled trials to know that for sure. Also, people may not necessarily behave well as honest as we'd like to in a survey than than their actions are. And that's something that the book Billion Wicked Thoughts talks about. It's like people's behaviors online versus what they say in a survey, different things. So the first step isn't saying there's gender fluidity and there's millions of, or there are endless amounts of genders. The first step to me is understanding that biology and gender expression are two different things, and that we should start down the path of separating those two out, or at least understanding that biology and gender expression may have differences in how we perceive them, right? That's the first fundamental step. And then we can start talking about appropriate gender expression, inappropriate gender expression. What constitutes that? What defines that? Um, is it right for someone just to willy nilly say that they're a female and then enter a women's washroom and sexually assault? No, like, no, that's not right. And we shouldn't use those examples to miss the very important human understanding piece of biology and gender expression. So to me, that's the first step, understanding that difference, and then starting down the path of understanding gender fluidity. So let me know what you think. Do you think that makes sense? Is that something that you could see yourself gravitating towards? I think building this understanding is so important, and we're missing that step, which is leading to a lot of this infighting and a lot of people butting heads. But those are the two books I would recommend: A Billion Wicked Thoughts and The Moral Animal, Why We Are the Way We Are. I'm going to let you know more about these books as I uncover them. Let me know what you think. My name is Christopher. I'm the host of the Open Minds podcast, where I'm attempting to explore all of these issues with genuine curiosity. Leave a like, definitely subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And I hope you're enjoying the content, and I'll catch you in the next one.